School makes you feel stupid. School makes you feel dumb. School makes you feel like you have to work for somebody else because there is no other way. If you are in bottom sets, you can't possibly do anything else other than be an employee and make minimum wage and just get by. I am here to prove to you that that is definitely not true. But it does mean that we need to put a bit of work in. We need to actually work on ourselves. We need to actually work on some skills. I was in all of the bottom sets in high school and I dropped out of university. On top of that, I'm blonde and I was always considered the dumb blonde. And to be honest, I went with that identity for most of my life. But here are 3 habits that you can do which are going to make you smarter. And I mean smarter in the real world, smarter at talking to people, smarter at emotional intelligence, all of the things that we aren't taught in school. I'm not going to talk about algebra. I'm not going to talk about biology. Well, biology is kind of interesting, but I mean, you know, the nucleus and things like that we were taught in school. I'm not talking about those things. I'm not even talking about being book smart, because I'm not going to tell you to read more books and I'm not even going to tell you to listen to more podcasts. But I'm going to give you 3 things that made me a smarter person. Now I run my own marketing agency, I manage my finances, I'm living in Bali, and I'd say that I'm a pretty smart person. But I grew up thinking that I was the dumbest person around. I grew up thinking that I would never, ever in a million years get to where I am today, because I was in bottom set in maths, I was in bottom set in science, and I was just about scraped by English. School makes you feel stupid. School makes you feel dumb. School makes you feel like you have to work for somebody else because there is no other way. If you are in bottom sets, you can't possibly do anything else other than be an employee and make minimum wage and just get by. An insanely underrated habit that made me smarter around 5 years ago was actually journaling, because journaling allows you to get to know yourself, and the more you know yourself, the smarter people think you are. When somebody can ask you what you want to do and you can be super decisive because you have the self-awareness. When somebody asks you your opinion on something and you have the self-awareness, you have the self-awareness to know what your opinion is, you are considered smart. You are considered smart in the real world. When you feel a certain emotion, when you feel jealousy, when you feel anger, and you know where that's coming from, you know the trigger because you've journaled about this before. Because when you feel those emotions, you've journaled on it and you know yourself. You are smart. Journaling has made me way smarter than any books I have ever read. This is how it works. Books give you the knowledge. Books give you maybe some common knowledge. Maybe they give you knowledge about people. Maybe they give you knowledge about a specific topic, which is great if you actually retain that knowledge and remember that knowledge. But it's so likely that if you're watching this video, you find it hard to retain knowledge, and I definitely do. I mean, when I was doing exams, for example, I had to learn the thing that we learn in the class, then go home and revise the thing, and then read it over and over again until it was like lodged in my brain. I do not have a photographic memory. I have no idea what that feels like. I have to read things over and over again. I have to write them down. I have to read things, write them down and read things. It's a whole process. So reading books for me is great in the moment. Maybe I have some realizations and then I quickly forget what I read. And that does not happen when you journal. When you journal on how you are feeling and why you are feeling that way, you are feeling things so deeply, and which means that you are way more likely to remember it. And also writing with your hand, pen to paper, you are way more likely to remember things because you are writing them down. You are giving your brain more time to actually process what you are thinking because you're writing it onto a piece of paper. If you do like reading, then I do recommend, if you hear something or if you read something that you really like, write it down on a piece of paper, then you're more likely to remember that idea that you just read. Journal about yourself, journal about how you're feeling, journal about other people and how they make you feel, journal about events that have happened and how you are reflecting on them, journal about the year and how you feel about the year so far, journal on what happened this month and why you feel good and bad about it. The more that you journal, the more that you will get that self-awareness and the smarter you will become. Becoming interested rather than interesting. You're thinking right now that you're not smart, therefore why would anybody listen to you? Why would anybody take your opinions into account because you're not smart enough to even listen to? Stop worrying about wanting and needing to say interesting things and instead be interested in other people. The more that you can listen to other people, listen to their opinions, listen to their thoughts, listen to their ideas, the smarter you will become because you'll be able to take on that information and create your own information from it. That's the key. The key is to create your own information and opinions based on what you hear from other people. The problem with social media and a lot of people sharing information these days is the fact that if you haven't developed your own self-awareness, you are going to listen to the opinions of other people and take that as face value, which is not what we want to do. We want to have and form our own opinions because people look up to people who have their own opinions. Develop some insanely good communication skills. Know how to talk, know how to present yourself. Then it's not about the knowledge that you have in here, but it's about how you are communicating and how you are charismatic. I'm going to give you some tips now on how to be more charismatic, because this is something I am super interested in right now, because charisma gets you far. Pause before you answer a question. This shows that you are actually reflecting on what you are going to say, and people really respect that. They become intrigued. And it also shows that you are not in a rush. You are not stagnant. You are not all over the place, because people who are all over the place, they don't seem very put together, but you are put together. You pause before you talk, you reflect, and therefore you demand people to listen. Remember people's names. It sounds super simple to just remember people's names, but when you can remember somebody's name and then you see them again, that is an incredible people skill to have. It shows that you are actually present when you met them. It shows that you care. It also signals dopamine in their brain. When somebody says your name in a sentence, isn't it just so exciting and so fun? And you're like, oh, I just heard my own name. I don't know about you, but when somebody says, Frida, this, Frida, I'm like, whoa. That makes me feel special because you just said my name. Say people's names at the start, at the end, in the middle of sentences, and notice how their mood will lift. This is just a few people skills, charisma skills that I find super interesting. One more thing on charisma: talk with passion and precision. Try and stop saying or saying things like or you know, or to be honest, because this kills your communication. Honestly, recording YouTube videos has made me so much better at this, because when you're editing yourself on YouTube and you hear how many times you say and how many times you say you become so aware of it, so that when I'm talking, I hear myself and I don't even know what to say. It's not fun. So if you want to talk with passion and precision, you can talk slower, more intentionally, and you can also utilize storytelling. Become better at telling stories. If somebody asks you what happened this week and you said you had an exam, how can you tell that in more of an interesting way? How can you turn that into a story? Say, on Tuesday, I was feeling really nervous and I woke up super early and I did my whole morning routine and everything, but I was still shaking and I was feeling really scared because I had this exam. And then they can ask, oh my god, how did the exam go? That sounds intense. You made a whole story around it instead of saying, it was okay, I had an exam. Make it sound interesting. Communication skills are going to make you smarter. Books, not necessarily. Stop identifying yourself as a stupid person. Stop identifying yourself as dumb. If you already identify yourself as someone who doesn't have good common sense, who is clumsy, or someone who can't add up the bill at the end of a meal, people will start to reassure you that that's true. If you identify as something, people are just going to reinforce that in you. If you identify as something, you're going to show up as that. So if you're identifying as a stupid, dumb blonde, or somebody who failed their test, or somebody who's in bottom sets, you're just going to keep going and living life with that identity. This is what I was doing for years, and this is what really got in the way when I wanted to build my own business, when I wanted to grow on LinkedIn, when I wanted to prove to other people that I could run an agency. I had zero experience. There was zero reason for anyone to believe that I could run my own business, that I could run my own agency. I just had to prove it, and I didn't read more books to do this. I had to build my self-confidence, I had to journal, I had to develop good communication skills, I had to get smarter, I had to identify as someone who is smart, I had to identify as a business owner. I didn't identify as someone who was in bottom sets. I didn't identify as someone who dropped out of university, but identified as a business owner. You are in between two identities right now, and you can either choose the identity that you have been identifying as for the past 1, 2, 3, your whole life, or you can choose to identify as this future version of yourself that you want to be, and everything will change. Because this person, this business owner, this content creator, whatever you are aspiring to be, what habits do they have? What patterns do they have? How do they think? How do they talk to people? How do they show up for themselves? How do they communicate? Because there might be small shifts, there's very likely small shifts that you have to do right now to get to that identification. When I kept saying things out loud, like, oh, I wasn't smart in school, or I always found it so hard to retain information, or I'm not one of those people who are just good at things, straight away, who can just try a new sport and then they're immediately good. I'm just not that person. Quit talking like that about yourself. Quit talking, even if you believe it's true, quit saying it out loud, because when you say it out loud to another person, they are going to reinforce it back to you. And that is not what you need. You need to just identify as a smart person. Okay, maybe you were in bottom sets. It doesn't mean shit. It does not mean anything. What means something now is how you go through life and how you navigate life and how you act right now today. That is the only thing that matters, not the grades that you got in school. The 3 things that are actually going to make you smarter in today's society: not reading books, it's journaling, it's having better communication skills and specifically focused on being charismatic, and it's to stop identifying as a dumb person, because you're not dumb. This is going to level you up and make you smarter. I am going to add as well, podcasts are absolutely insane. I actually am a big lover of podcasts, and I also am a big lover of audiobooks. I'm not going to say that they have leveled up my life and made me so much smarter, but I have gathered like small tips and quick tips from a lot of podcasts that I've listened to, and mindset shifts and things like that. So I'm not going to say that you shouldn't be consuming content like that. I would say that if you are consuming any kind of content right now, make sure that it is educational and it is adding value to you, knowledge to you, and improving your life rather than just entertaining your life. That is really, really important. There's so much content out there right now that can level you up right damn now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a beautiful day, week, month, life, my loves. Don't forget to subscribe.